22nd of January 2026, the official release of Arknights Endfield. A game that looked to promise much with its outstanding graphical presentation, polish, and complete with nostalgic reminders of beloved characters in the Arknights franchise. Perhaps even being the game release of the year. However, as it seems to often happen, many much hyped and exciting releases somehow manage to trip over something that ends up marring what should have been a smooth, successful launch. And it seems that Endfield is the newest victim to such an incident. As it turns out, many players who linked their PayPal accounts for the purpose of purchasing in-game items ended up with transactions that were not authorized by them. Many people saw their account balances majorly affected due to transactions that were incorrectly attributed to their respective accounts. And here we are. The Reddit thread that lists the actions that the official Gryphline customer service has actually taken, the service team themselves listed out a timeline where they try to address this PayPal issue. So all times will be stated in UTC+8 as follows, unless stated otherwise. Let's begin. 9:58 AM, they received their first player report related to such an incident with the PayPal payments. At 11:05 AM, more than an hour later and 5 minutes after the official time of the launch, they confirmed that that issue was actually a thing, and they immediately took actions to disable PayPal as a payment option to prevent further impact to the remaining player base. Right, so at this point, I have to say that at launch, it was supposed to be 11 AM, but there were people in the game already playing through the tutorial at around 9:30 AM that I even heard of. So there were early purchases that were already made even before official time of launch. So about 7 hours later, they completed a full review of all the PayPal transactions that were involved and identified the affected ones. After which, at 6:30 PM, they have actually announced to begin refunding processes. And the processes that were affected were by using the official launcher as well as the top-ups made via the Gryphline online shop. And they expected all refunds to be completed within 4 hours, right? So imagine checking your balance and all of a sudden you are down $2,000. There are people out there who actually link their bank account to PayPal, and I happen to be one of those people. Well, while it doesn't directly affect me, a lot of other people were affected during this, and it's not a small amount. You could be down a couple hundred to a couple thousand. I think I heard that there was a particular player that had his account drained of about 3,000 USD worth. So it's horrible to actually think about. And the implication is that since there's no announcement with regards to the handling of the in-game items that are already obtained during such an incident, you can safely assume that there's an implication that there are players who got to keep their loot from exploiting such an incident. So hopefully these people stay low and don't go bragging about how they have this and that. Otherwise, it's gonna turn out to be even more of a disaster than it currently is, right? So what I want to address is that even with the refunds being processed and rightfully returned to the players that were affected, now we have to talk about one very important thing: the compensation. So there's no compensation as of the time of recording this video that has been announced by Hypergryph in any way, shape, or form. So I find it a little odd that such a thing has not even been on their mindset. They've already screwed up on this, and the fact that the payment system managed to actually create an incident where people were actually actively losing money, it's not the nicest thing, and it's basically put a dampener on what could have been a successful launch on the first day itself. And imagine it happens on the first day when you're supposed to launch it. Now, this is not the first time that Hypergryph has ended up in an incident where players have been outraged over something that they did. But in this case, it's not so much something that they did, it's just a security lapse, and a pretty big one at that. Now, back to that incident. So, in the original Arknights, there was an incident in 2020, the summer of 2020, in fact, around August, where they had a rerun of an event, and they actually put a new operator on the rerun itself. So the rerun was supposed to essentially be a second run, and if you cleared all the stages that were available the first time around, you would not get any new rewards. Essentially, you would just get anything that was linked to the event currency, and that was it. But you don't get any new rewards. So the premium currency is 1 per stage clear, and there were 29 in total. Nobody got extra out of that. And the fact that it was kind of tone deaf as well, it was a rerun, and they chucked a new operator banner that had nothing to do with the event itself. So there was an outrage on the CN community, and Hypergryph ended up having to give a 10 roll out to players as apology, and making a public statement that it was an oversight and they should have done better, and would promise to do better in the future. So the idea behind compensation behind such major incidents is not the free currency itself. I mean, as gacha players, we all know and love everything about free currency. It just means more pools, more capability and resources to be able to get a character that you really want. But that's not the main point of the compensation. The compensation is to be there to acknowledge that you take accountability and responsibility for such actions, and not just for the sake of giving out pools so that you lose money instead. However, that being said, I hope that Hypergryph does better and that they learn from this incident, because it was a pretty large lapse. Imagine your API not processing transactions properly and incorrectly assigning them to the wrong account that purchased it. And as of speaking, I think the PayPal system is still going to be disabled for the foreseeable future, and hopefully they learn from this incident and do better in the future. But this incident will go down in history of the game, and it's not going to be a very memorable one for many people. Now, that being said, I can't imagine that trust will be easy to gain back from the players regarding this incident. So I've seen people say that they are deterred from trying the game now because of such an incident and the fact that there's no compensation. So yeah, we'll just have to put some faith in that they will take the right action eventually. It doesn't have to be immediate, because I'm pretty sure they're trying to think about the implications and the future repercussions that could actually stem from this incident alone. And there's people making memes about the incident. You know, there's that Perlica animation done by a YouTuber by the name of Simi and Chap Chap, and they have already made a very cute and very humorous animation about that. So we can probably look back on this incident in a couple of years with a fresh perspective and perhaps not so much outrage as we do today. But what do you guys think of the incident? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. See you all again. This is me, signing out.